Greetings all, welcome back to Eye of the Beholder. Hope everyone had a marvelous holiday. As you probably already know, we've been reviewing 20 years of Dungeons & Dragons miniatures by creature type produced by WOTC and WizKids over the 2003 through 2023 time span. We're in the middle of reviewing the giant miniatures, with hill giants next on the docket. Hill giants are considered the least of the true giants, shortest in stature, weakest in mind, and ugliest in appearance. They are selfish and voracious of appetite, surviving by foraging and raiding, often forcing weaker beings to do their bidding. In combat, they rely heavily on an opening with a salvo of thrown boulders before closing to attack with primitive clubs or even just uprooted trees. Production note: there is a special release miniature from the Storm King's Thunder set called King Guh that I won't be reviewing. Why, you ask? As much as of a completist that I am, I've refused to get this one because, frankly, it disgusts me. And yes, I realize grossness is the point, but I still don't want it on my shelf next to my other miniatures.
The very first giant mini ever released was this hill giant from 2004's Archfiend set. Posed striding forward with a very crude club in his right hand, a closer look reveals some interesting details on the belt. Note the pig carcass on his left hip and the two barrels on the back. Colors are mostly browns and blacks, but we do get a nice gray fur trimming on the tunic, as well as cream-colored wrappings on the feet. Solid first effort for an early giant. Score: Paint 14, Pose 15, Playability 12, Pizzazz 13, for a score of 54. Two years later, WOTC gives us two hill giant minis in the War Drum set of 2006. The first is this hill giant barbarian, posed with his crude club, augmented by two spikes, directly in the fore while he roars out his battle challenge. This mini is all about the brown. Tawny brown for his bare skin, tan for the tunic wrapped about his waist, and dark for the hair, bracers, and shin wrappings. And like the previous mini, he also carries quite a bit of useful items on his belt. Score: Paint 12, Pose 17, Playability 13, Pizzazz 14, for a score of 56. From the same set we get this hill giant chieftain. The two most notable details here is that, unlike most hill giants, he carries a forged weapon, in this case a mace. Also, note he has a large rock in his left hand, ready to hurl at his opponents. Basic brown is again the color palette, but he does sport a bit more armor on his arms and shoulders, as well as knees. We also get fairly decent facial detailing here. Note the dramatic underbite exposing his lower teeth. Cool top knot too, bro. Score: Paint 12, Pose 15, Playability 13, Pizzazz 14, for a score of 54. Our final WOTC Hill Giant mini, and the only huge from them, is this Earth Titan from 2008's Against the Giants set. Like the Frost Titan mini we reviewed in the last video, this miniature looks more elemental than giant. It's monochrome gray, heavily dark washed body looking like living rock. Gazing down at its foe, one hand is curled in a fist while the other is open and, to me, looks like it's about to reach out and pick up an unfortunate target. I could absolutely see using this mini as a huge earth elemental in a pinch. Score: Paint 10, Pose 16, Playability 18, Pizzazz 13, for a score of 57. WizKids comes out swinging with two hill giant variants in, naturally enough, 2016 Storm King's Thunder set. WizKids gets much closer to the book descriptions with its minis, obese but with muscular arms and a face that, frankly, has a dim-wittedness to it. Identical in paint and pose with the exception of weaponry, one carries a crude mace while the other sports an equally crude spear. I particularly like the enormous backpack that each wears. I imagine it contains multiple throwing boulders along with other essential items. Score: Paint 14, Pose 16, Playability 22, Pizzazz 15, for a score of 67. When hill giants get sick, they are often isolated from their brethren and even chained up. If the sickness persists, they become Mouse of Grolantor, emancipated, utterly insane creatures that exist to feed. Once freed, they wreak havoc on the countryside, consuming everything edible in their path. This Mouth of Grolantor mini, from 2018's Monster Menagerie 3 set, perfectly exemplifies the book description. The flabby belly skin conveys its starvation, and the broken chains at wrist and ankle confirms it escaped rather than being released. Finally, of course, both hands are filled with food. Looks like pumpkins to me. In my opinion, this mini is a perfect wandering monster to throw at your PCs when things need spicing up. Score: Paint 13, Pose 16, Playability 20, Pizzazz 14, for a score of 63. Also from Monster Menagerie 3, we get this perfect complement to the two Hill Giant minis from Storm King's Thunder, or more to the point, mates. Yes, these two are of the fairer sex. As before, the pose is the same for both with slight differences. The first carries a spear and has a dark brown rucksack. The second has no weapon and a lighter brown rucksack. I would absolutely combine these with the male versions, perhaps as a wandering family unit, while using the WOTC minis as their children. Score: Paint 14, Pose 16, Playability 22, Pizzazz 15, for a score of 67. Three years later, we get this Hill Giant miniature in 2021 Snowbound set. Looking physically smaller than the previous WizKid Hill Giants, he is posed with his club raised high above his head in preparation for a downward blow. Clad in nothing but a dark brown loincloth, I feel like WizKids missed the boat here. If you're going to include a Hill Giant in a set called Snowbound, how can you not have it clad in animal furs, setting it apart from your previous minis? As is, I just use him as the teenage son of our previously mentioned Hill Giant family encounter. Score: Paint 12, Pose 13, Playability 10, Pizzazz 11, for a score of 46. "2023 gives us a Hill Giant Avalancher in the Bigby Presents Glory of the Giants set. She is obviously a shaman of some type. Note how the rocks in her left hand are floating in a translucent orange magical aura, as well as the runes on her club. Her long brown fur tunic leaves her well-muscled arms and legs uncovered, while her face appears to be grinning at something. My guess is that she's about to magically call down an avalanche upon a hapless party. Score: Paint 16, Pose 19, Playability 18, Pizzazz 23, for a score of 79. Our final giant is a one-off. Meet the Orzhov giant from 2018's Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica set. Apparently, it is unique to Ravnica, as I was unable to find any reference as to what type of giant he is. These giants join the Orzhov syndicate as the muscle of the guild, noticeable for their golden plate mail armor and matching silver and gold battle axe. Posed in typical weapon held high above its head in preparation of splitting a foe from crown to crotch, it is nicely done in paint and pose. I'm just not sure how playable it is outside of Ravnica. Score: Paint 17, Pose 15, Playability 10, Pizzazz 17, for a score of 59.
And with that, we are done. We'll be taking a look at the Storm Giant miniatures with our next video. As always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch the channel. please comment, like, or subscribe. See everyone next week. Eye of the Beholder, signing off.